Today I'll be covering architecture mindset to execution. Most of the people already know me. Like I'm Ankit Jain. I'm a technical architect at MNC. I'm 20x certified, ex PwC, ex IBM. I'm a mentor top mate, and also I'm a community speaker. And this is my LinkedIn URL. So feel free to connect with me. So I will just take a few seconds here so that uh, you can scan and connect with me. Now this is my topmate link where you all like this is for our audience who will see the video. This is my topmate link so you can do the bookings accordingly. And this is my YouTube channel where the recording of this session will be available. So there are other videos as well which we have recorded, which consist of architect playlist, quick interview playlist. Then there's Salesforce beginners as well. There's a separate playlist, and there is a technical session as well. And instead of agenda, I will call it like what after the session, what it will enable you to do. You will be able to think beyond the normal conventional tools and you will think of it solving the project or problem objectively. And during the discovery session, you will ask good questions and you would be able to make the technical decision even when the information is incomplete. Like you can make the assumption, like, yes, this is what is my assumption. And whenever the business actually tells you like the what means they pressurize you like why it's not deliverable, then you can tell them like, yeah, see, you need to, there are a lot of things you're telling me, but instead of that you can prioritize which needs to be done first and you'll be able to defend the trade-offs, and then you would be able to lead the team through change, not just the implementation. So this is just a high level. Now, why does architecture actually matters? See, what happens typically is like whenever the you do the development, the things works great. But as soon as the things move to high environment, the things might break. It is a very common scenario. Now, like we all blame, like the blame comes from the implementation team, but sometimes it does happen. Like it's not a problem from the implementation perspective. The problem actually happened before that, during when the architecture was set, and when it was set, it was during the discovery. So basically, when the architect joins the project, it's not like they directly they join before, like they inherit the decisions when doing the pre-sales. They inherit like the discussions that happened in their pre-sales or the discovery or in the RFP. So, and that is the reason like they struggle, like the implementation struggles. Any questions so far? Or
So,
I can
suppose an architect has to join project late because in the initial time of the project, the architect was not there. Architect was hired later. So, or the previous architect left. So, in that scenario, what you will say?
see, whenever such scenarios happen, first of all, a project can't start without an architect. The very beginning, like before the, like whenever a requirement gathering session is there, in that session will not happen without an architect. Second scenario, what you're talking about, like after the requirement gathering, the architect is changed. Rarely, first of all, it's again a very, very rare scenario, but there needs to be a proper transition between the two architects. And that is actually has to be facilitated by your program manager. Typically, first of all, it's again a rare scenario, and on top of it, like if this thing happens, then it's the program manager who needs to take care, like
Mhm.
these kind of things don't happen.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
So, Ankit, these things, I mean, you're saying that these things happen because of some bad design, but this could also be done. I mean, there can be a scenario where the
It,
architecture was
uh,
fine, but
Correct.
the
It can
implementation.
happen. It can happen. I don't disagree. But many times it might happen. It's not just the implementation team. Maybe that solution which it was actually made means whenever you had the discussion and that time the volume was low. So accordingly, it was decided like let's go with the flow. And later it was discovered that the volume is too high. So it, and
Yeah.
again it can happen like a field initially was said like it's not mandatory. and suddenly they are asking us to make it mandatory. So it's
Understood.
like
Yeah.
that.
So when an architect joins, the discovery session is about to start, but before that, the RFI, the RFP phase already went over, the sales phase, right? So at that time, maybe some solution architect was there,
Obviously,
who,
yes. In your discovery calls, always a pre-sales architect. See, there are two types of architects. One is your pre-sales architect, and other is your delivery architect. In some scenarios, in small companies, both play the same person plays both the roles.
yeah.
So,
So there
like,
has to be some transition happening from the pre-sales architect to the delivery architect when they are about to start the delivery.
actually, there needs to be
The
therein.
dis
Obviously, agree from the process endpoint. Yes, that should happen. But practically, some information is lost, like what I have observed with my experience. Obviously, it's not a good sign, but agree, there needs to be proper transition. And many a times it happened with my project as well. Like in the discovery phase, the architect who was or solution architect who actually took up the discovery, later he was cross-questioned because what he said is very much deviating with our delivery.
Okay.
But these kind of things has to be avoided. That is the core reason, like we need to have a proper discovery with the right questions. And that's the kind of one of the reason like we are all here.
So in a discovery session, what do you think that a business analyst should lead or an architect should lead or
See,
both?
it's like a cycle. Both the tires are important for this, I would say. Both are like individually architect can't do everything. Individually business analyst can't do anything. Both need to coordinate, then only the things will work out.
Yeah, yeah.
Any phase, like be it your RFP or it could be in like in maybe it could be your even RFP, it could be your discovery sessions, even your project delivery.
Hmm.
Okay. Now RFI and RFP, I've just tried to give a brief introduction. So RFI is more around your whether your team or platform they want to you to be shortlisted. That's why like have like RFI going on for 100 companies. Later like they shortlist and only 20 companies they give the actual RFP. And sometimes it might happen like they just want like to validate like they give you a set of questions in the Excel, like you need to answer them. Like they could be like one such RFI was given to one of our teams. So they had like 300 to 400 questions, and based on that, we had to reply to those. And RFE is obviously like it's very well documented. You have like a proper assumptions you could make, and then you know like the scope. Like this is the kind of implementation. Like it is a lead process, so it is like sales service implementation, or it's like service cloud voice. You have a fair idea like looking at the requirements like yes, and the business also knows like it is achievable, but what are the considerations or what are the assumptions, and then actually it's expected like whenever you reply with the RFP, typically I'm talking about that you come up with a proper execution plan, like and a project plan, like this is how like it will be delivered in your things will be delivered in your phase one, then means which will be your MVP, then in the second phase we'll do these things, something like that. Okay, I will just think. Yeah. So like RFI, we talked about RFPs, and like after the proposal is aligned, then only we go with the discovery and of planning the discovery. It's again a talent, I would say, because for discovery to happen successfully, you need to know all the different stakeholders or different systems first of all, and there could be dependency as well. So you need to take care of the sequencing as well. And if suppose you don't do this discovery properly, there could be ambiguity and there could be obviously some constraints. Obviously, with that, the trade-offs will happen. But yeah, you have to take care of these things. Okay, like I've added all the people or now, like, see, just the you got into discovery, but while you were going with the discovery, you should also make sure like you are having the right mindset for these discovery, the architecture mindset. And what does this architecture mindset say? You play as a customer. Like, suppose you're a customer of that company, then to walk through the entire journey, understand what was the business point, get into the shoes of their business. Tell them like means try to experience the shortcomings or the gaps or the problem statements or the pain points. Then what you do is like you think of it, what are the possible solutions that can go, but that you will measure after you listen to entire business problem, like business process. Don't jump into the solution first understand everything, think of it, then just don't think from the technical angle, you have to also think of it from in terms of adoption. Suppose you are giving a solution, but adopting it for your end users, or suppose your sales team, like sales team, you're saying them to use the system, but it's designed in such a way that it's not making any sense, or it's taking even more time for them. So why would they want to do that? Correct. So you need to think of all the scenarios. And once you're giving a solution, you should be assertive. Assertive, I mean, you should take your own stand. Like suppose a business tells to you, like I don't want to create a lead, create an account. You tell them like create a lead because you could have multiple leads, and what is the lead which is qualified or is good, then only keep it in the means. Only then only you convert it and create it an account contact and opportunity. And they will say like no, create an account directly. Tell them like see, I'm ready to do that, but it could create shortcomings or technical debt for you tomorrow. And even if they insist, tell them like I would like to log it as a decision because it is deviating with whatever is our recommendation. So you are assertive in whatever you are saying in. You are telling them the possible consequences as well, and you are documenting it. Documenting or communicating the solution is also very much important. So and
So
how
the
do
doc so
yeah,
what will be the document name? The
it's
architectural
called your
this
ARB document, I would call it. Architecture Review Board document it is. I will show it towards the end. It's
okay.
already there in my deck.
Thanks.
So whatever decisions that we are therein, we are taking it in the diagram. Means we are making like from the decision, means from the assumptions we are taking, like whatever requirements that they say, few of them will document it properly as an assumption, and whatever consequences would come up will come up like a patterns. Now again, you go with any discovery and then you just keep interrupting the business. Would the business like it? Obviously no. See, like assume like I'm a product based company for which you're doing an implementation. Our team knows their work. Like suppose they talk to your website team, they will know how does the website work. And you are keep on interrupting me like what are the this thing, what is that, where do you host, you are using GoDaddy. It doesn't really matter. Like ask the right questions. First understand, take some time, and don't just say like when they say suppose say like you have a form where we are capturing the lead and immediately you thought like let's go with web to lead. No, you should not be. Yeah, who has annotated it? I don't know. I'm also, there's an option around annotation. 1 minute. We just see. How do I? Okay, I think that should be there. Yeah. Yeah. So we should be listening to their current process, Don't just say like, yeah, you heard like the term like lead is coming through the website and you started jumping to the solution. No. Later, like we'll also cover like volume plays a very important role while you're designing the solution. And even whether it is immediate like async or it is synchronous. Architects listen more than they speak. Suppose you went away with this one. Now, what is like, how will it the session actually start? You will get started with the pain points, and they would tell you tons of pain points like this Excel, like I have to enter everything in the Excel. I would have to, like, the revenue is going down. We are not able to use Agent Force. Can you do make sure like you we implement Agent Force right now? They might say like the data is scattered. They will say tons of pain points. So what you will do is you will take some time to tell them like, okay, tell out of these, what are the priority for you right now? And get it, you have to force them to prioritize. They might not do it, but you have to tell them. And then use V2MOM from framework. V2MOM framework actually stands with for your vision, value, method, obstacle, and then measure. We'll show it with an example. I will go it with an example which will make much more sense to them. Again, I'm repeating, listen to understand, not respond. Our human nature is like we just listen so that we can respond. But we have to change it. Like if you have to go in a good discovery. And you have to be open. Like, yes, I need to know the volumes. I would need to know like from where, what is your source system? What are the integrations involved? Now prioritizing the right pain points. Like as I mentioned, there are multiple pain points. It is like exam. Like when you prepare for an exam, you see like all the things are there in like this is also important. This is also important. Now, what do you do? Like you need to identify like which is the highest value, business value, or it can be in terms of like see, you have to do a trade-off. And what could be your trade-off? Like the thing between time to mark means your go-to-market time as well as the business ROI. Based on that, it will get decided by the business typically like whether a pain point needs to be solved right now or it can wait. Again, out of you can't get all of it in one go because and you have to choose a trade-off here. Now, how does it start? As I mentioned earlier as well, they won't talk. The business won't talk without a proper requirement. They would start with your pain point only. But and these are just symptoms. These are not problem statements. Again, I'm repeating. And but how does a problem statement look like? It would be very much concrete with your stats. Like, yes, I want to increase it by to 15% or by this much percentage by this timeline. Nothing better is a relative word. What is better? Whatever is better for me cannot will may not be better for you, right? It is relative. So you need to have a proper clear problem statement. When you have a clear problem statement, it helps us the consultants to or the architect to actually solution it and think of it and then accordingly plan the future activities. Yeah, yes, PK.
So how can architects like help with this increase of lead conversion by 15%? That's in
It
my
is the
perspective, it
yeah,
is
it is a
Salesforce.
problem statement, correct?
Yeah.
After this problem statement, you have a way to mom strategy where you will ask the right questions. Like you got a problem statement, then what is the way to mom first stands for vision. Vision is to increase this one. Second, V stands for your value. What is the value that you're looking for? It could be in terms of speed, it can be in terms of your accuracy. So there are multiple factors, and I will actually have an example on this in subsequent slides.
Okay.
See
Thank you.
if that makes sense, or otherwise we can try to dig deep into this.
Sure, Ankit. Thank you.
So while designing the solution, this is the sequence you follow. Why this sequence explicitly? Because this makes more logical sense. If you start with your reporting, won't have the fields and everything. So you start with what is the business flow and what is the process, what are the stages, you define the user types or your persona. Based on this information, you create a data model, you add your security model on top of it. You would think of it which fields can be automated, what are the integrations to be done, and then you jump into the reporting. Yeah, this is the example, PK. So the problem statement is like the sales team is able to close only 8% of leads compared to a 15% industry. And the leads are scattered across multiple channels like website, email, referrals, and inbound calls. And they are taking first time to follow up is typically 3 to 5 days. And should be less than 4 hours. And they are assigning the leads manually to themselves. There's no scoring, all leads are treated equally. As a result, the data quality is poor. Now tell me what is the problem statement here? Or what is the actual thing? Like whether it's a data problem or what is the actual problem?
I see it's a mixture of all the four things you have mentioned below. So we are
Yes,
responsible, we are not
yes,
having right data. There's no
correct.
scoring, and anyone can take any lead. So
Yes. So it's not a CRM problem. The problem is actually your process itself. Now, current state is like this. You're having multiple channels and then everything is consolidated, like all the emails or data is coming as mails. Then each sales step has to do the manual entry. Data quality is messed up, duplicates are therein, because of which it's reflecting in your reports. Correct. Turnaround time will also be therein as a result of this. Now, what is the process that they're following? Same thing. They're doing everything manually and duplicates are therein. So the problem arises. So what is the pain point if you look at it strategically? There were sources but no consolidation. Data is messed up. No scoring. Slow routing. Slow routing means I would say it is in the perspective of like suppose there is talking about leads list like so that all are at the same page. There are two types of leads. One is your retail lead, like we as individuals. Second is your institutional lead, like companies. So if a retail lead is suppose redirected to institutional by mistake, the routing is messed up. So there could be obviously it can cost them the deals as well, right? If the routing is messed up and there because of which there is like the data messed up, there is no proper visibility. Now what do we do? First thing we do is like document the gap. Documentation is very important. You document what is the current process, what are the constraints, then what like the architect does these your solutioning feasibility check and all of it. You think what can be automated, what can be done, and you may mention in here, then you evaluate what is better and you show this deck to them like yes, this is what is the gap analysis. Then they will say okay, each of these solutions we can go with option 1 and 3 for now, or 2 or 4 for now, and then we will proceed on the future state. For right now, I'm considering it like they agreed on all of it. Like we took up the top three sources, we captured it in integration layer. We put from the integration layer, had all the data unified in your lead object. There you added the proper validations and deduplication rules. You implemented the scoring and routing rules, and it's assigned to the right people. And because of the scoring, you were able to categorize it as low, medium, high. And for obviously based on the high means less than 30 minutes, mid means less than 2 hours. We define this kind of a SLA. Now, as a result of which everything is working well. Yes, PK.
so can you talk a bit more about lead scoring? Like owns the responsibility? Like who will define the rules for lead scoring?
Actually, it's actually not architect like their sales team. Means basically it's a kind of requirement driven, I would say.
Okay.
I can define the rule in multiple ways. Let me just give you an example. Suppose you need to purchase a house, okay, or a home or a flat. Okay, suppose you're telling me like I want to purchase a house and home in say 1 month. You're a hot lead. Suppose you registered for an inquiry. The person called you and told you like, sir, you're interested in the purchasing a house. When do you want the flat? You tell them like after 2 years. So obviously, if the here the deciding factor was like, what is your date when you actually are actively looking? And other criteria could be like if suppose depending on your income group, if suppose you are having a high net worth, obviously you will be categorized as a high value lead. You understood what I'm trying to convey?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a good question. Can we move further?
Ankit, one question I just want to ask you, like in past state which you showed, like the source of lead data was coming from different systems,
Uh,
and it was coming directly to sales rep, and sales rep was doing the manual entry,
Correct. It was
right?
there. Yeah, correct.
Uh,
Like these were
Okay.
multiple channels and it was coming to their inboxes. Yes,
And they were doing the manual entry. Now you are working as an architect, and now you are come up with this solution. Like instead of manual entry, we will be having one middleware which will connect with your Salesforce data, which will create the lead automatically.
correct.
Now, this decision you have made because you think like middleware is the best solution. Yes, of course, this is the best solution. But what will happen if there is no middleware? Like if
Uh,
company is not having any middleware,
if then
then
point to point, then you will have to go with point to point. See, it
okay,
is
so
integration
you need
layer. The middleware is not a, yeah, middleware
yeah,
is the best solution, but obviously you can have point to point integration, or you
yeah,
could
yeah,
have some other mechanisms through which you're able to consolidate all the data into your lead object.
yeah, yeah. So based on that, your velocity, I mean your
This future state would change, correct? It is just
change.
one way.
Yes. Okay, okay. So because you need to also convince them that okay, because there are a lot of manual actions you are performing, then uh, to to remove those manual action, we need to go with the middleware or point-to-point connections. For that, we need this much times because then your
Correct. Agree.
yeah, this thing will also be changed, right?
Yes. Yeah, and
Maybe.
that actually, yeah,
Yeah.
and this is a very important part what you're talking about. And in the next slide, it's like a part of your, yeah, trade-off. Like in next two slides, I think it is therein.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Great.
Now, now we'll map to V2MOM to this scenario. What was the vision to increase it from 8 to 12%? What was the value? Speed, like we wanted like leads to get follow-up within less than 30 minutes. We wanted good quality leads. Accuracy should be good. Like I'm saying like Ankit and in the suppose in the capturing it became Aniket. It's messed up. So and obviously we will try to automate whatever information you can. Uh, some of you might know about lead enrichment. So there are some tools available for that as well for institutional leads. DNB, if suppose you don't know, you can do some research on that. But there are some tools available for uh, lead enrichment.
Is it Dun and Bradstreet?
Sorry, is it?
Is it Dun and Bradstreet?
Yes,
They
yes, yes,
basically have
yes,
the
yes,
all
yes.
company's information. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Means I'm saying like you might think like what is the automation that can come for just the lead? So that's I'm saying like yes, there could be. And what is the yeah, now going into this, like what are the methods? See, typically we will try to reduce the time to market. Every business wants like Give us a shot, like I want to go to market quickly. So for that scenario, we consider like a MVP phase, like phase one, and another phase is like enhancement, like phase two. In phase one, we just implement the basic feature. In phase two, we'll have like AI based some lead scoring. It's just arbitrary requirement, but we'll define different phases that will become under a method. Now, what are the obstacles that are in our way? Like it's legacy email system that does not have good integration. Sales team is poor at entering the data, and obviously budget. Budget is like I would say like most companies have the budget constraint and the timeline. Now, how would you measure like yes, the system is working well or how I want it? We'll measure like in the lead responses, like the follow-ups are you are able to get in your dashboard, you're able to see like leads are being followed up in less than 30 minutes. More leads are getting converted. And adoption also is important factor, I would say. Many underestimate it, but if suppose you're building a system and your people are not using it, means there's something wrong in your system that you have built. Either it's like making the things worse for them, or is it not working accurately? So you should consider it as a measure of your project success. Adoption. All good? Everything is clear? You
Yes,
can.
Ankit.
Okay, let's move further. Now, here's the trade-off. We said like instead of 100% data correction, we'll just accept 80% as well. We said like instead of going AI scoring in the first phase, we said like no, I want the time to market as short, so I will go with standard functionality. And instead of all the sources, we'll just integrate the top three for now. And we enforce the automation for your routing. But we gave them the flexibility, like suppose if you want to change the owner, you can do that. Is everyone able to resonate with what I am saying in?
Yeah.
Yes, Ankit.
Now, now comes a good part. It's around understanding business process. One second. Whenever this requirement came to you and you were started designing solutions, earlier we just created a diagram. Now you have to actually solve for it. So you need to know everything, like whether we are talking about the leads. So from what are the sources? These three sources they told us. What is the daily volume? What the type of leads? It could be like your institutional lead or retail lead. Who touches the lead first? Means basically anyone is like a specific owner you have, or how does it go? Which system it goes? What are the external systems involved? And what? How do you measure like a lead is good or bad today? There's a few questions that you can ask. Now, even many scenarios you have to actually drill down more. Like what are the fields that are required, which are optional, and then the validations, or how do you check any duplicates? You might say like your even I would say business would tell you like why are you asking so many questions? Then you have to say it calmly like see, when we are designing a solution, these things actually influence your data model and your AI readiness. So it's very much important for me. Okay.
Ankit, I have one question. I just want to know one thing from architect perspective, like how you guys think when you are giving a solution, how you limit the requirement. For example, I am a stakeholder or a product owner. I'm asking you, okay, Ankit, I want to implement lead conversion. Like I have marketing system from there. We are getting the leads and we want to move the lead into the Salesforce system. And from the Salesforce system, we want to convert the opportunity into the account contacts and opportunity. Now, this is your requirement. You will think, okay, what is the volumes we will be expecting, all these things. But there are many things like how you limit that discussion. Like, okay, if volume will, because your solution will be differ based on the volumes, like what
Correct.
middleware you are going to use. Okay, for this much volume, okay, this is the best solution. For this much volume, this will be the
Not
best solution.
see, few of the things are there, and I agree. But that's very important. Like you actually ask the right questions. See, like if we need to like when you're asking your questions, you have to also take into account which are actual deciding factors. If suppose instead of like MuleSoft, they're suppose doing the same thing using Tailend or some other tool, that doesn't really matter much to me. I would have to just check like whether it's the feasibility, like the compatibility is there or not. Volumes, and you will just think of it like for particular data. Suppose there are multiple systems which are exchanging, suppose order information, and I am dealing just with the leads. So I am cool with that. Like, see, I am not concerned around that, but I am concerned like how this lead data might influence the order data after the lead conversion. So
Once the lead is converted, like, do you also need to think like, okay, what will happen if the account is already present for this particular lead?
correct,
Then we
correct,
need
correct,
to,
correct,
yeah,
correct. I would need to think of
yeah,
it.
yeah. And then if there is no mechanism of assignment rule and duplicate rule, then you will also consider like convince the business that okay, we need a assignment rule and duplicate rule for
Correct,
this.
correct, correct.
So
See, if that
like
is like,
these things will keep on increasing. So how you restrict that? Okay, till
see,
here
our
it's a
our
bare
our job,
minimum.
yeah, our job is not to solve anything immediately. First, we'll tell them like these are the problem and this is the implications. The thing like what you're talking about is like now it happens. I don't disagree with that. So requirement might come up like see if suppose it's to I consider it like first there are two types of your proposals. One of is your fixed price and other is time and material. So if it is a time and material, you need to just tell them. So one second. So when you are having like both kind of leads, then accordingly, like suppose it is in like time and material scenario, let the requirement increase. But what need you need to tell them is like communicate it early. I would say let them take the trade-off. Like yes, this implementation we can skip for now, or let the business prioritize it. If they want, then you will have to tell them like if you're picking up that work, then this other thing we might need to deprioritize, descope, I would say. And that scenario like is covered like there are few scenarios like which I have also documented like as a part of today's session, or I would say scenarios where these kind of things might come up. So you will have to limit to the business. Like yes, there's it's I will call it scope creep. Like whenever it's going beyond your current scope, your architect as well as your project manager both need to align and then tell the business like, see, it seems to be deviating from your current extra like from your current scope, and that would need a CR change request. So
Okay,
that is really
okay,
the best way to approach this thing.
okay. Got it, Ankit. Thank you.
Yeah, because these things happen, but you need to be on top of your toes. Like that's why like architect needs to be aligned with your project manager and the scope. Like whenever it's like a deviation or it's the things are getting ugly, even in the terms of timelines, architect needs to
Yeah.
be in aligned with your project manager. Like yes, the things are bad, and but you communicate it effectively.
Yes, I
We are
observed
covering
that.
that scenario, like few other scenarios as well in subsequent slides. So it would cover it in detail. Now, in the discussions, it might happen like they might say like we are using an external system for that. Get into the depth of that system. What is that system? What is this? Is that the source of information truth for this object? Does it support restore soap? And how is it syncing with your current system? Whether it's like immediate, real time, near real time, nightly batch. And if the sync fails, what is the rollback mechanism that you have? So, yeah, I think PK, you raised the question, right? Yeah, you raised the hand.
No, not this time.
Okay, okay. I saw some hand raised, so asking not a problem. Okay. So, even like many systems already have their own database, and you need to know like what information is in that, and even schema if you can get. And I will tell you why we need it. Suppose a data is needed, it means you need in Salesforce, and that data already is present in the previous system. Will it make sense for you to recalculate it or to do everything? No. You can take the data from the existing system, whatever already has that data, instead of doing the integration again to another extra system. So think and analyze what is therein, which of the information, like we had one implementation where the loyalty data was in your normal Microsoft, sorry, MySQL, the current data, but I need to show that information in my Salesforce. So I actually like we asked them a proper schema, like on the day one, like when we were having the session with that team, they told us like we do have a database. I was like, can we get the database? And do you have a data dictionary? So I did an analysis around that. Yes, for this customer, these points, loyalty points are calculated in in the database. Then I told you like what is the matching criteria? Then they told us like we have like an email ID matching criteria or some other ID they had. So that way, like everything is you don't know, like you need to think of it like how the things can connect between Salesforce and external systems. Any information that is therein could be useful to you. But you need to, business will ask you, like, why are you going into digging into other systems? So you will have to think of it. Well, I'm okay. I mean, the only reason I'm doing it is like this information, what you need. We are thinking if we can utilize your existing data, means existing system and get the information from there itself instead of making integration to another extra system to avoid this activity we are doing it. If you don't want us to reuse that one and create a new integration, I'm okay with that. So keep that discussion transparent. Okay, all good. Okay, now again it's very important, the volume and timing. So talking about very simple example around web to lead. Whenever we see web to like website and we need to capture lead, we think of it like, yes, let's go with web to lead. Now, what's the side effects? The side effects is like the web to lead fails after 500 record 500 leads per day. So that's why like unless you get a clear picture, don't start solutioning. What is the peak hours? And even what is the peakest value that you can get? And what is the expected growth? This will decide everything like your flow versus apex, sync, async, whether should be real-time integration or it should be a batch, and all of it. So that's why like you need to think of it from all the angles. Uh, yeah, this is actually very much important. Like, see, whenever we actually think of a problem statement, we just think of it like, can we do it by low code, no code, or flow, or trigger? What is the best approach you would say? But our actual question should be like, what will make it more maintainable? We know like both are capable of doing multiple things. We need to think of the trade-offs that we are okay to take. For, yeah, in the next slide, it would be clear. Like, for suppose you have to make a field mandatory. Multiple ways we can do it. You can do validation rule, triggers, before safe flow, dynamic forms, even page layout. And at the field level as well. But we know the problem or the trade-off with all of it, right? So this is like a high-level comparison. When the logic is simple, try to go with flow itself. And admins maintain that. And for Apex, you need a developer. Volumes wise and performance wise, Apex is said to have much more better control and performance. And this is a practical point of view. Suppose whenever you want to do dynamic referencing of any field, go with your Apex or use Flow plus Apex. You want to do any transformation, Apex is much more better for you. Bulkification, like, yes, I don't disagree that Flow is not bulkified. Flow is bulkified whenever it's doing a DML or a SOQL, it tries to do the bulkification. Reusability, yes, it has some features, but it's not that much reusable as compared to your Apex. In Flow as well, you have the test class available, but means Flow testable, but not many people use it. In Apex, it's compulsory by Salesforce. Makes sense?
Then also this depend on the like project. If it is a greenfield project, completely a new system, then you can think of this. I mean, if the project is already, I mean, if there are, I mean, if there are, we also already have some customization in the system, then maybe we may go with the flow or may go with the Apex, depend on what we have for that particular object already in place.
Correct, correct. It's again a part of your trade-off. That's why I'm saying, like, don't prejudge. Think of it like each of the solution comes with a different trade-off. What we need to think of it is what will make it much more maintainable. And like in maintainability, you can think of it like multiple factors. Like introducing multiple automations is again not recommended. Have only one automation. But yeah, valid point. Now we'll talk about the scalability. Normally, what we all say, like with high volume, it should sustain without any problem. That's just one aspect. That your solution is said to be much more scalable when even a new requirement comes in or a new field mapping comes in and you have to do the mapping between those two objects. It's able to handle. It is able to handle like if any records fails, then you have a backup plan or you're able to trace back to like what are the failures, like how do you are able to debug it, what could are the root causes, and if it is that solution is transitioned to the another team, then also it's quite easy. So just don't think scalability from just the numbers. Think of it 360-degree view. And to ensure like you have a scalability in your system implementation, use frameworks. These are obviously important, but these I think it's self-explanatory. Nebula Logger, it's a good framework for error logging. Let me just ask you here, like, who all are not familiar with Nebula Logger? They can raise a hand or don't know about Nebula Logger. Okay. Okay, majority people don't know it. Okay. Let me just explain it. See, typically how do you do the error logging? You create a custom error log object, you insert it, right? That's typically the approach we all take. But there's a problem with that approach. The problem is if you have unhandled exception, like your governor limit exception, like 101 SOQL or 10,000 DML, then you won't be able to capture it in your custom object log in the because your entire transaction of try and catch will get rolled back in case of unhandled exception. So what you need to do is like you either implement the Nebula logger or you publish a platform event in that you capture the fields and then on that platform event you write automation and write the logic for inserting the custom object. And this Nebula logger actually does exactly this. It gives you the method and works as I'm saying in. Hope it made sense.
I think Ankit, you already have video on Nebula longer, if I'm not wrong. I think
Not
it should.
sure. I don't think so.
Okay.
It's taken explicitly on Nebula logger. It might be some
Okay.
other Ankitan as well. I don't know. Or I might have referred it, like mentioned it somewhere.
Yes, yes. Because I have seen in some of your videos, you
Yeah.
was referred
Yeah.
this
It's a good
Nebula thing.
framework. The industry, like, it's a
It's very
recommended
good.
one.
Actually, in my current project, we are using it. It's very, very good. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's another
It's
trigger
free,
framework.
so it's very good.
Yeah.
So regarding the platform event will be published at the starting of the page of all the objects, right? And then
No, no, no.
like
In that
after
scenario, like whenever you have like a normal try and catch, in the catch block, you will publish the platform event.
okay,
And on that platform event, you will you will still need a custom object. That single custom object error log only record you will create, but it would be inside your platform events trigger or a flow. Because it is a platform event, it's a fire and forget pattern. Once the record means once a platform event is published, nobody can stop it.
yeah. So when an unhandled exception triggers, like some DML exception, that is the Salesforce unhandled exception that cannot be caught in the try catch, right? So in that case, what will happen?
In that scenario, the catch block will get executed, but it will it will not be able to handle the catch block and it will do a
Okay,
complete
okay.
rollback of that
Got it,
transaction.
got it, got it, got it. Now
Yeah.
I got it. Okay, thanks.
So there is a trigger frameworks as well available. FFlib is a common one, and even Kevin O'Hara provides a simple framework, quite simple. Like it has your trigger handler, and you can also have your utility or helpers. You also have your bypass framework used for bypassing the validation rules, your automations, your triggers. And obviously, you can also have your integration framework so that you can use the dry principle, do not repeat yourself. In the nutshell, what you're trying to do is like you're trying to make a system more scalable.
What is this bypass framework, Ankit?
Yeah. Yeah, bypass
What is
framework actually there are multiple implementations available, but not the exact Git repo I was able to find out. But in many projects it's implemented. Like basically it can happen per object you are bypassing it or per user you are bypassing it. So accordingly you add those checks.
so your customization you are bypassing means, right?
Correct,
For
correct. Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay, okay, okay.
The intent is like when the data load you are not like this that piece of code is not getting executed. Yes, speaker.
Yeah, if I may add, like we used custom permissions. So what we do in flows and Apex is like we
Yeah,
use the,
that is one way. That is one way. That is your user level bypass.
yeah.
So see, there are multiple ways of doing it. One is your custom permission that is like very simple to use, and we implemented it that way as well. And but there are some advanced level frameworks as well for this bypass where you define per object per user. Only this
Yeah.
user can be should be able will be able to bypass it instead of that permission
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, I mean, Ankit, I faced this issue because one time I was doing migration, and for my user, I wanted to bypass all the logic the moment I'm doing migration. But for other user, you should not bypass the custom logic. So
Exact.
because we were handling everything through the custom metadata or custom settings, so it was a bit difficult for me. Then we come up with some other solutions to bypass only for those user and
That's why
not
like
for
you
them.
need to have an advanced bypass mechanism. That's why I say it like a normal bypass framework. It should support you in both the ways. It should support you per user as well, per object also if you want to bypass. Now, like when you are making a system scalable, it should also be maintainable. What they call it as maintainable, it's not like you have like no hard coding. Whenever maintainability basically means you are anything new added or for any you are done the written the logic for say two scenario means two types of leads, and if a third type comes it should be quite easy, like you just create a record and it should work, and you're able to capture the error logs. And if you're writing Apex, then the test classes are actually written with the sake of actually testing it, not just for the sake of covering the code or coverage, doing the code coverage. So just a checklist. Now, like we will, there's we when where I will say like before finalizing the solution, we need to think of not just the technical aspects, other aspects as well. Who will be maintaining it? Will it be admin team, and whether that person is going to change frequently? Why I'm asking this question, because many solutions that you will develop, technically it would be quite good, but from the user training perspective, it is complex, then this can be a problem. And what is like when you're coming with a solution, what is the volume? Will it work like whatever with whatever you have right now, or the future it will be able to handle? So suppose I want to go from say Pune to Bangalore. Okay, there are two ways. By flight I can go, and through train also I can go. Even bus I can go. Which way I should go? You will say like you should go by bus. It's like very less cost. Or you will say like go with flight because it's like most luxury, or you will save time on that. So both the solutions, all the solutions are right. But you have to think of it the trade-off. Like whether I want to save some money, or is it like I want to save some time. Right? So it's like that in your solutioning as well. Make sense, or any clarifications on this? Okay. Now who will say that it is the best? So it's not me, it's not the architect, it's your ARB. In most mature organizations, you have something known as ARB, Architecture Review Board. Some people call it Center of Excellence. Basically, it's the same thing. Yeah. So I think someone has a question, I guess. Okay, I think it's background noise. So typically they approve it, and not all the people in this team are technical. Few are functional as well from the business side. So what they make sure is like their business problem is also documented, and they are thinking of it from the perspective like, yes, if I have to maintain it, you need to think of it like what are the problem which you went with the problem, you told them like these are the three solutions you have, and then you are telling with each of the solutions what are the trade-offs that are therein. You document it quite well, And this is actually it's actually helpful for architect. If suppose anything goes wrong in future, and they take like tell architect like you are to be blamed, and then that time this decision log will help you justify it. It's not me who has taken the decision. I gave you a context. I told you the trade-offs with this one, and it was all of us who are held accountable for the solution. Make sense? Means anyone who has not heard of ARB before, or all of have heard about ARB or COE earlier? No responses, or all are confused. What is that?
Yeah, Ankit, I never heard about it. I mean,
Okay, you did not heard about it. Okay.
no.
No, very big organization, like suppose you talk about like big companies like Zurich or any big companies, let it be like TKE, like means very big organizations or like Coca-Cola. These companies, wherever they are very much mature in their say like software development, they do have those boards set up. This is a keep a tap on the degree of customization that is being added into the system. Otherwise, what will happen is like consultants will come and go. In the end, they have to maintain the system. If the system becomes unusable, it's a big problem for them. So they keep a tap on like what are new fields that you're creating in or any new automation you're introducing.
But
Because
this is
everything,
a kind of artifact, I mean, where we are maintaining everything.
yes, this is the artifact. I means
Okay.
this
Oh,
is in this template we actually maintain it.
okay. Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
I
Got it.
would say like you need to maintain it. Some people might call it different terminology. They might call it as a decision making guide or something like that. But the proper term is like your ARB template. I remember in my one of the previous projects, like we had to document it. Like it was like we were going with we were considering a mapping like from one object to another one. So we argued that why are you doing it with the flow? Because it won't be scalable. They told us like no, go with flow only. The business wants it like low code, no code. I'm like, see, I am okay to doing that, but in future it would be much more complex. They say like, no, go with flow. I was like, okay, I will go with flow, but let me add that in your document like decision log. Because in future, if I have to make a changes in this, then I will have to again modify this flow, which will be again involve my effort from my side. So I was safe because I got this documented clearly.
So normally, who is part of the ARB? Is it only architects or the
No,
business
there are
analysts
no,
and
see, there are multiple people in there. Sometimes it's like your business, like business stakeholders are there, and there's one program like program head. There is a CTO also involved in. There's your client side architect is also there, and the product side architect is also there in. And there's one BA as well, typically. Not 100% of the time, but typically this is the composition. Again, it varies as per different organizations.
got it?
Because
Mm.
obviously, like you can't just have the business dictate everything because they don't know the technical stuff. You can't just say rely on the technical stuff because it's the team that has to means that system should be maintainable. So everyone should be at the same pace. So that's why this is an entire committee. It's like you can call it as a jury, like compared to a court. Like you have a complete jury who is held, like who is the giving justice. Consider it like that. It's not like just the judge is making a decision. It's an entire jury who is reviewing everything and then coming up with a judgment.
Yeah, so I worked in Deloitte before. So in there we had a ARB, and we
Yes,
had to
correct.
present everything, every new change, every new idea we need to discuss in the ARB. And typically there are architects, multiple architects, and some
Correct.
non-technical people. But
Yeah. See, this is like your consulting company's ARB, but there's a ARB at the product side as well.
mm,
This ARB, like what you're talking about, is added by Deloitte or that your current company or your ex company, so that like we are they are knowing like you're not like adding more complexity or increasing your technical debt, or to keep a tap on that. Product side also the intent is the same, but they're concerned about their business. Deloitte is doing it in the like to maintain its quality standards. It's the difference is that.
mhm. So normally, as part of the ARB, the document, the ARB template document, in that document only uh, the the architectural decision log is part of that
Yes,
document, right?
yes, yes. I will. Yeah, let's go through that. I think we understood what is the governance and how does it work. Now let's go to the document. How does it look like? You mentioned the business problem that you're trying to solve. What is the goal? What is the end result that you're trying to achieve? How do you measure it? You mentioned here the gap, like what are the transitions that you're trying to do? You're ingesting the data from your mails and CSVs, and currently what you're trying to means what is the target? You have a middleware introduced, and data quality currently it's like missing key things, but you can get it to like enriched. Then you have like a decision and trade-off. So you have like option one, just stick to Salesforce native feature. Option two, use middleware with Flow plus Apex. Option three, get a Apex in solution. Then you will mention here like yes, the selected approach is this one because and the use reason you will mention it here. Then you will tell what is the implications of that, like impact and risk. You can also mention like who will be able the decision owner and what are the key stakeholders here. And you'll also mention like what are the risks that can come with that and what is the mitigation factor and how you will review it. These many things you will cover actually. It takes time, I agree, but it's important for your own safety to secure your job.
So this is used for future references. Eh?
Correct. This is maintained very well with the client side. Like they're like everyone, it's maintained like whenever a new team even comes in, they also see this decision log. Okay, shall I go further?
And one thing again, let's suppose there was one approach which was finalized, and in ARB we have maintained that. Later, like after 1 year, few modification has been done under that approach. Then again we need to come back into ARB to
Correct. You will,
update that, or like.
yes, you will come back to our ARB and tell them like, yes, you will create a separate ARB document for that.
Okay, okay, and link with this particular.
Yeah, you can have that linkage, but typically a new ARB document is created.
Okay,
Why?
okay.
Because your assumptions changed. And here, like what we did, the solution was based on the different assumptions.
Yes, of course.
So that's why, like, it's important. Now, this is actually one of your scenario. Like when they initially they told you something, the requirements are wrong, and then how do you respond to that?
Yes.
So you need to tell them very clearly, like, boss, whatever you told us earlier, so the assumptions, what we have mentioned it clearly, that has been documented. So those are changed. So what we need to do right now is like instead of to mitigate it, what can be done? Let's think of that. Don't try to defend like yes, you have mentioned it here and start the blame game. Will not help. You have to act with maturity like yes, these requirements were wrong because of the input that is therein, and these are the assumptions based on that. And the fact of the matter is like it's deviating. Now, what we need to do is like we need to think of it like what are the implications of this and make the corrective actions. Simple. Make sense? It can happen like you designed a solution that is questioned. Like what you said. Like earlier it was like some solution one approach was taken in. Later it was proved that solution one approach was didn't work out. You have to go with solution two. So you need to accept that, like, yes, we considered this trade-off and we made the decisions accordingly. We had considered the other alternatives, but that had this side effect. And be open, like, yes, what are you saying? But for us, like, when we made the decision, these are the trade-offs or these were the assumptions. And now, if, since these are changed, obviously your design will be changed for that.
So Ankit, how do you handle like if you think like whatever you have designed, maybe you didn't consider, let's hypothetically think that you may think, okay, there was a design flaw on that. There was no trade-off, but there was a design flaw. So how you tackle and how you convince them? Like, okay, I accept there was a design flaw and now we can do in this way. Because in that
See,
case, it
if
will very
suppose,
much
see,
backfire.
yeah. See, suppose I made a decision, like suppose I made instead of a master detail, like instead of a lookup, I created a master detail. And like later the requirement came in like we need to go with like that field the which I made master detail, that field is not available. And but my design in my design I made it like a master detail. Now what I will have to do is like I will have to tell them like see so this scenario was a mess from our side. Like you will have to come up with like whether it what was the reason, whether it was considered missed during the discovery phase or it's like a volume or it was due to some dependency. So you have to give a proper justification and tell them like yes, this is what has happened and what could be the corrective action, come up with a plan and even effort you have to come up with that. Then you need to also think of it like you need to do a trade-off with that. Like when you are doing it, suppose you are lagging in the capacity for that. You tell them like, can we just reprioritize the things because I think this is very much needed in for your implementation. So what we'll do is like we'll descope this thing safely and we'll just fix in this thing part first. Basically, what you're saying like you should not try to argue it. Be honest. Tell them like yes, this has happened and why it has happened because this edge case was missed and unfortunately forgot to document it as well. Now, to do this change, this much time is take would be needed in, and this is the effort that would be involved. And agree, like the things have been like it's like missed from our side, and we are okay to fix this now. That's where you need to be honest with you. I would mean that you need to be honest. I would say that should be the key thing. Okay,
Right,
let's
Ankit.
move further. Yeah, okay. You anyone has any question? Now, sometimes your estimates also fail. You estimated a simple flow to be like 1 day effort, but it took the developer 3 days or 5 days. So, and the business will ask like, why it's happening? What is the problem? So the moment you understood like it would go is going to take long time, communicated it early itself. and tell them like what is the gap. Like tell it like, see, there's a gap, there's a dependency being identified which is blocking our way. You're telling us like what is the dependency? Whether like it's dependent on other systems, or is it like other team, or it's internal. So you have to dream like give justification accordingly and then proceed further. And don't give excuses like yes, there's something wrong, or you what is the problem, like tell it clearly. Okay, made sense? Okay. Now what do you do when you're asked to deliver under pressure and your capacity is already reached? You tell them like, see, uh, to deliver this, like what we can do safely is like we can descope this functionality for now if that's not a priority. And because what we need to do is like with this capacity, if we try to deliver it, there could be much more risks that will might come up. So instead of rushing it, if it's possible, we can kind of descope it and we focus on the quality part. That's how you will have to approach it. Again, the business might not agree with this, or then if they don't agree, then you will have to come up with a plan like on the resourcing side. Like tell them like we might have to involve another additional resources for this. Okay? Now, like it can happen like many times the issues actually appear quite late. Now they might tell you like why was it not captured earlier? So you need to tell him like what was the root cause, like whether it was the design problem or it's because you didn't had that much data in early environment and now here you have it. That is the reason that this thing has come up. Then instead of doing just a patch, first analyze like how much is the priority. Can we defer that bug for now and just focus on the important, like whatever are the critical fixes that only we deliver right now and defer the other things safely. So that you need to take talk to business and see if that is a possibility. Okay, makes sense. Let me go to the next slide. Prevention is better than cure. See, these scenarios, like I told them, like I will provided the inputs on how to handle it. But the better part means best approach would be like to prevent it, these scenarios from happening. And how will you prevent it? While having a proper discovery, better discovery, clearly saying what is the assumption and telling them about what are the trade-offs. And even like who is the owner of particular thing and how do you establish governance around that. In the end, I would conclude by saying like it's all around the trade-offs and you need to think, do not think on the apex or flow. Think of it, what is the what will help you maintain the code further smoothly. So that's it, I would say. Yeah. Another thing is on cross questioning. Suppose like if the when you're doing a development and you get a new requirement, like a new field has to be created, what are the validations? But when the architect actually has to create a field, they would get into much more details. They will ask like where this field is used, how it will get populated, for the existing data, what will we do? If the data is wrong, what is the possibilities? If the subject data is doubled, what will the impact? So everything they ask. So these are just a example of cross questioning. How do we do? Okay. And then finally, any further questions?
So in the discovery, in a possible discovery, is there any scope to ask the uh, sandboxes, the sandbox strategy, the
Pre-discovery session, you'll have to like you can try to ask them, or what you can do is like you can make an assumption there. Typically, in our scenarios, like what we do, like in my company, we write an assumption like these are the environments that would be therein and proceed accordingly. Okay.
Hi Ankit. Sometimes when we need to design flow means, sometimes we need to design swim lane flow, sometimes user flow. So means how should we decide? Means it's the architecture work or what we can say.
Sorry, user flow or
Swim lane flow means according to users means leads means we can say role hierarchy. Na, means some some parts are handled by the admin, some parts handled by the sales rep. That's we call na, swim lane flow.
yeah, okay, yeah, perspective. Okay, swim lane flow. Okay.
So it's the means it is part of architecture, right?
Similar for I would say like it's a governance kind of part. I would say not the architecture, but yes, it's like a governance. We'll have to have a proper process like these people are working. 1 minute. There should be somewhere it's there in 1 minute. Here you can have the swim lane here,
Hmm.
and here's the process flow and action steps.
Okay.
So any other further questions?
Yeah, Ankit, who will means take the decision for the licensing part and the user license part? And in the Salesforce, there are multiple license. Like, who will take that decision? Right? Like architect or any other stakeholder from the client end?
See, architect will decide like what is the license would be much more optimal for them. They will provide the recommendation, and what typically happens is for purchasing the license, Salesforce actually tell contacts them and tells them like yes, this license like the business team or the product team will contact Salesforce like we need to purchase the licenses. So what Salesforce will do is like they will have a discussion with them, and based on the requirements they will tell them like yes, you purchase these licenses, and then it actually happens.
Okay. And one more question I have, like, let's say we are using the middleware, okay? So from the architect team, we have chosen two middlewares. So who
Yeah.
will take the final decision on the architect, that COE team of the client or any other person?
Typically, for that, you have like a separate team. Like normally, it's the enterprise architect who will be the best person to review it because it involves like comparative study between both the tools.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
that's why like we need a person who worked on both the tools to tell us because he can tell us like what is the trade-off for
Okay.
this
So
use
actually
case
that is
like
the job of enterprise architect, right?
sorry,
This is the job of enterprise architect.
correct, enterprise architect, and it's at the product level. Normally, they maintain it.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi Ankit. So I have a question. So how do architects deal with the conflicting requirements? So let's say because if an architect miss a conflicting requirement, it goes untouched till the time it is developed, or even
Correct.
when it
See,
is.
concurrent requirements does happen. So what you need to do is like you need to be on top of like the process. So while it is being created itself, that time you need to raise it like it's deviating with the current process, and then flag it, and then they have that discussion done. Then only it will like be solved. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. Anything further? Or I will just pause the recording if someone is having hesitation because of recording. But yeah. My take is simple code review should actually be done by your senior technique. Some part of it should be taken by the architect lead and some type part should be done by your technical lead. Architect should review at the solution like what is the skill, like what is the coding structure, and your actual line by line review should be taken care by your senior technical lead or the technical lead only.
Hmm.
That is my take.
Okay, so one question maybe uh, it's not specific to this particular session, but yeah, let's suppose you are joining new company, okay, maybe as a lead, as a developer, or as an architect, whatever. What is the best way or best approach to understand the architecture of the new system or system of new company without of course there will be a KT session and there will be someone will be explaining about all these things, but by your own what should be the correct way to know the systems or
First, what you
architecture
can
of the system?
first of all, like yes, we need to ask the document with them, and we can try to get access of the org
Yes,
if
of
you
course you will be having the org access.
yeah. So
And
you can look at the data model or the schema builder. You can see what is the relationship and then look at the code. That code will tell you like what is the logic might have been written. So that will be my take.
yes, it should be in this way, I think also. I mean, because this is how I do, like I try to see the schema builder and see what objects are connected with which objects. And by looking at the code or by looking at the flow, I try to understand, okay, these are the customization has been done under these things. Of course, there are some people who will be giving you KTs, and
Yeah,
as you already mentioned, there will be
yeah.
a documentation on that. I was looking for some other way, might be,
No,
but
what that
anyways.
means that is the way, or you have to go with the schema builder. And there's some tools like happysoup.io, like which can help you to identify it. Otherwise, you have to go with the yeah, crude approach only. That's
Which
all is
tool
the
you
only way
mentioned?
you are left with.
Happy.io. Which tool you mentioned?
Happysoup.io.
Happysoup.io. Okay, it's a kind of managed package or like
It's a website.
okay,
It helps you
LSS.
actually, it's for impact analysis to be very fair.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I'll check that.
Okay.
Hi Ankit.
Yeah.
So let's suppose there is a existing project and which is having a lot of mess right now, and the best practices are not imposed there, and every day, every other day, they are hitting some governor limits in regards to platform event, daily API limits, or daily bulk API limits. So how do we tackle those situation or projects as an architect?
In that scenario, the first thing is like You have to send, I would say the first thing that you will do is,
Mm,
will do a org health analysis, come up with the findings. There is a separate template around that,
mm,
which your company would also have it as a consultant.
mm,
Send that across, tell them like, see, these are the problems that have come up, and what these are doing is like, these are adding technical debt to your implementation, because of which, like, the time to make the changes is like, these are causing some of the other issues every now and then.
mm. Right.
And for that, we need to devise a proper plan. So mention it that way, I would say.
Got it.
So all good. I'm considering like everyone is good with this. So let's close the call, I would say. Okay. Hope you were able to get the value that you're looking for.